Hi, listeners, and welcome to the Wednesday stream of the offline
When
network.
it says scream, that could be a good opening as well.
The Wednesday stream of the offline network.
Yeah.
Um, it's a big week ahead for main board. What's happening? Main board IPOs for tech companies, three blockbuster names, and three guests in the offline network. Sumit of CoinDCX is back, and we have the founders of Beco and SuperYou. So supercharged for today's show. It's of what's happening on the main board with the tech companies. going
But
public.
it's going insane. I mean, Sequoia, which is now peak 15 in India, is making huge gains across many different IPOs. So we'll talk about Pine Labs first. Lokvir Kapoor, who was the founder, is making 460 crores in profit, 450x return for him. Peak 15, of course, is going to get a massive windfall with 4650 crores in profits, man. Huge gains. And I think the question that everyone was asking, that can India deliver returns to LPs? So I think that time has finally come. And you've seen that with Lenskart, you've seen that with Groww and Meesho and so many others that will come, Urban Company, which was also there. So it's going to be insane. 39x gain for peak 15. Targeting a 2.9 billion valuation, which was privately last valued at 5 billion, but still huge gains for the private investors. What does the company do? Do we come across it almost every day?
Every time you pull out your card to swipe, there's a very high chance you're going to see a Pine Labs POS machine. But the company was founded in 1998, by the way, by
Yeah.
Lokvir Kapoor, and Amrish, who's the CEO now, stepped in around 2020. They've got two businesses predominantly. One is a more merchant-focused business, which drives majority of the revenue, and then they have another infrastructure business, which helps issuers get cards into the hands of holders. They've also done a lot of acquisitions along the way. You'll remember 𝐷𝐢𝐳𝐿, you'll remember �SeTu, well-loved fintech companies. They've been a part of their journey. Who
Yeah.
else is IPOing?
Groww raising 3,000 crores in its IPO. And funny enough, Nitin Kamath was posting that 20% of all the applications for the Groww IPO came from Zerodha users. You mentioned some investors, the sovereign funds, which were investing in the Groww IPO as well.
Yeah, Groww has the most. In fact, you met Lalit recently.
He's
Uh,
an investor in offline.
he's an investor in offline. Oh, that is
We'll have him on the show very soon.
we will. But they have one of the most coveted cap tables, including Ribbit Capital, by the way,
Yeah.
which is across all great fintech companies. But another great story. And, but the thing I have to ask you, itself is what are IPOs really? Are they marketing events or are they fundraising events? Because so much of the narrative is around the price, the subscription, the demand, the listing they pop. But really, this is just a day in the life of a company, right? And then the bulk of the journey lies ahead of you. So you've been around in the ecosystem for so long. What's your take on this?
So I'll go back to the Zomato book, which I finished, by the way. So Zomato they didn't go for the listing ceremony at the stock exchange. What they did was they actually gathered around in their cafeteria. And what Dipinder said, that I don't want to go through all the song and dance, but then I think Mohit of Sequoia, then Peak 15 now, and even Sanjeev Bikhchandani said that this is the biggest marketing event that the company will ever get. Like, this is the singular moment where everyone's going to talk about your company, retail investors, global investors. So use this to your advantage as well. And then Eternal's price fell. And that's when, like, I think Dipinder truly grew up as a founder, when I think a lot of the leadership left as well. So truly, honestly, I would say that pre-IPO and post-IPO are entirely different journeys. And Dipinder also mentions that some of his employees got demotivated when they made too much money in the IPO. So both different ball games, but now Eternal is very strong as a company. So treat it as a milestone, like you said, a marketing event even. And also, I mean, Dipinder made like two other of his executives, CFO and CEO, just so that they could do the public facing pitches to the investors while he was focused on operations. So it's exciting. Like, I
Does
mean,
this
just
spark
that.
feisty debates between, one school of thought versus the other, growth versus value? But it's fascinating to watch.
Absolutely. But Peak 15, big winner in both these IPOs, 1.8 billion for their 20% stake in Groww. I think it's insane. And other big winners in this IPO bonanza have been, I think, Elevation Capital's done well. Then we've got Axel, of course, with them, they did Urban Company, and then Peak 15 is the name that keeps on popping up. Waiting for the Meesho IPO as well. And people are saying that the Groww IPO is fairly priced. Twitter, this thing.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Lenskart reminded us that Twitter is a bubble, right? Where you see everyone saying that it's an overpriced IPO. Now 29x subscription for Lenskart IPO. It's insane. Like, people have locked in 29 times their money, this IPO subscription amount, in just their bids for Lenskart. So it's fascinating what this means, like the amount of liquidity there is in the retail markets. And I mean, kudos to Piyush for building such a solid business and a unique business as well.
People were critical of him for how he handled some questions, I think, in some of the pressers, but then he did, I think, in a day's time, just get back and clarify all of the questions people had in their mind.
All right, quickly running through cool things that we saw on the internet. Why is Google putting TPUs in space? What are TPUs?
So tensor processing units, everyone's trying to build their own chips. Everyone's trying to build their own what are called ASICs, like application-specific integrated circuits, and no one wants to count on NVIDIA for the indefinite future. So Google's been on this for quite some time. The other thing to think about over here is, so where are the bottlenecks in AI, right? Depends on who you are. Some people will say compute, some people will say GPUs, some people will say power, right? If you have a stack of GPUs in your data center doing nothing because you don't have electricity to power them, what's really going to happen? So Google's sending their GPUs to space as close to the sun as possible. And a lot of people in AI are also, by the way, banking on a fusion breakthrough for generating electricity. So that's interesting stuff. I see our first guest is almost here. So
all right, so let's quickly recap what's happening at Sequoia as well, and then the GLP-1 stuff. What's happening at Sequoia? Change of guard?
Yes, change of guard came out of the blue, and the senior steward, Ruia, announced that he's passing the baton to Alfred Lin and Pat Grady, who've of course been with the firm for quite some time now. Alfred Lin, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the co-founders of Zappos, the shoe company.
Yeah.
And Sequoia always prides itself in these near perfectly timed intergenerational sort of transfers. Very few firms can time them and plan them and execute them. Let's see how this plays out.
And in a very weird and funny thing that we saw on the timeline, I don't know how much of this is true in the sense that will this actually play out? Morgan Stanley puts out a research report where they say drugs like the GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic and Mounjaro will reshape how people eat. And then one of our previous guests who was there last show, Ankit, he tweeted that his food ordering from Swiggy and Zomato have actually gone down after he started taking Mounjaro as well. So one of the bear case to make for these online deliveries, but I don't think it's going to play out.
Very quickly, I have a conspiracy theory on who might be funding this research. I think it might be Ryanair and Indigo, right? They would carry less excess baggage.
All right, but now enough of the news. Sumit, thank you so much for waiting, and welcome back to the show. You're a first returning guest.
Thank you, 𝐓𝐡𝐞. Thanks, Dhruv.
Hey, Sumit.
Pleasure to have you, and you've turned crisis into opportunity. So let's talk about the Coinbase investment first. What does it mean? And congrats on closing that big round with them.
Yeah, thank you, 𝐓𝐡𝐞. And I'm sure you know about it before others do. So, but I think it was interesting what the situation was. I think we've had a tough situation a few months back, and Coinbase, which is the largest and the most trusted compliant brand globally in crypto, their investment in CoinDCX it strengthens the trust in the brand CoinDCX. It's a lot more stronger, and it just gives further reinforces the work that we have done, the execution that the team has done over last several years. It gives a lot more strength to our market leadership position. I think the journey continues, but I think this was a good motivation for the entire company as well as for the entire ecosystem, because crypto companies in India have not raised large rounds from a long time. So I think hopefully this is the beginning for that. For us as a company, this gives us more firepower to invest in building more innovative products and expand geographically outside the country as well. So with this capital, we will expand both across products as well as across geos, which is going to shape up the next growth path for the company in many years to come. So I think overall, very exciting and interesting times.
Describe the product roadmap and what geographies are on the map as well for you.
Yeah, I mean, like on product side, one is we have already deep in all the kind of investment products, trading products. We have also built SIP. So all those investment products are already there for different persona types. What we are also doubling down on is how can we bring the power of DeFi to CeFi? We call it CDeFi in the company. Like how do these two worlds converge? And that's something that the company is very aggressively working on. You'll see a bunch of exciting products that are not available in traditional finance, but DeFi offers that capability, and we will link it with INR. That's something that we are working on, and a bunch of exciting stuff on the Web3 side as well. Experimenting with few, products, the team keeps on doing their work, and whenever we are comfortable, the idea is that we will want to make our customers realize the power of DeFi, which we believe is the future, especially when it comes to financial products and services, which has been very active like 2-3 years back, but now not as much attention goes there. But that's something that we are very bullish on. The idea is that we will make it mainstream in India. The other, in terms of regions, I think we have already deep presence in India. MENA, within Middle East and North Africa, we have good presence in UAE, Bahrain. We've got licenses. There's one license that we received yesterday. It will be announced shortly. But we continue to acquire more and more licenses in different regions where there is regulatory clarity. So the idea is that that will serve as a ground for us to learn and then use those learnings in India, but continue to diversify across different geographies, increase our revenues, because the ARPU there is very attractive, but India remains the heart for us, and we want to use that growth and channel it back to the country.
Sumit, going into 2026 from an industry perspective, what are the large trends that appear interesting at this point in time?
Interesting trends. I think one thing that's talked about a lot is stable coins. I think stable coin is clear breakout use case for crypto. A lot of people have been asking that what's the open AI movement, right, for crypto, and I think stable coins have have proven that already, like $300 billion in circulation, going to cross $2 trillion in just like another 4 or 5 years. A lot of that is going to come from emerging markets. With Genius Act being passed with bipartisan support, I think it's clearly giving a lot more confidence to even like large traditional conglomerates to sort of experiment with stable coins, all the way from Visa to MasterCard. Pretty much everyone is experimenting with that. All the big banks are now following that. So I'm seeing a lot more momentum there. I see a lot of conversations happening around tokenization as well. Like, how can you bring real world assets on chain, make the markets a lot more efficient? How can you have equities on chain, 24/7 trading, equities which are traded, instant settlement, completely transparent, no intermediaries in between? It will just make the financial systems a lot more effective, efficient, and that's something that's being talked about a lot. Any asset class which is illiquid, how can you make it liquid? Including real estate. A lot of people are experimenting with that. So bunch of stuff happening around tokenization as well, something that we believe governments will be a lot more open to, because it's backed by sort of real world assets and something that is physical in nature. So this more like a physical, which is more relatable to them. So like this will start from there, and then eventually will move forward from there. So I think there's a lot more conversations happening around that. I do believe that there's going to be a lot more conversations around other countries talking about regulations and coming up with sort of full-fledged guidelines. And I see a lot of other founders talking about that happening, like a lot of stuff happening in their own countries. So yeah, largely this is pretty interesting.
And CZ, the founder of Binance, was recently pardoned. Did you have a chance to meet him in Dubai?
No, I did not. I did not.
But you met him before.
I've met him a few times before. I've met few other CXOs of Binance. They are also looking at India market very seriously. And yeah, but not CZ in particular very recently.
And what's your take on 𝐻𝐢𝐧𝐞 starting up again? That's good for users, but will they be able to come back in a big way, or users have lost trust?
I think, see, trust is something which is, again, very, I think it's something that takes years and years to build. CoinDCX has built trust over the last 7-8 years because of the actions we did, and it's something once broken, it's very difficult to get it back, right? I mean, it's like that. So I doubt if users will trust 𝐻𝐻𝐧𝐞 again, and the way they're sort of trying to get user trust back, it can't be forced. Like, you'll have to give users freedom to do whatever they want to do. I think there I'm a bit doubtful, but in terms of 𝐻𝐻𝐧𝐞 starting the platform again, I think it's net positive for the ecosystem, because a lot of money was locked there. Roughly $300 million or so will get unlocked as the platform starts up again, and I think it's good for the customers, because now they'll be able to use that money, and it's good to see the faces of customers that they are able to access the money back, and then they can do whatever they want to do with that. Last 1.5 years must have been tough for all the users who have been impacted by that. But I think at least good thing is that customers are sort of get access to the capital. And second thing is hopefully other companies will learn on how to sort of deal with such situations, and hopefully it never happens again.
Sumit, and when we think of Indian investors who've been all this while just sitting on the fence, waiting for the right time to, seek their first exposure to crypto, from your standpoint, what's the right way for them to be thinking about crypto at this point in time, about volatility, about risk, about new clarity that has emerged?
Yeah, I think excellent question. And a lot of people ask me this question. I think there's one simple, straightforward answer. Just start with SIP. Nobody is smart enough to time the market. Nobody knows when to enter. But if you are a long-term investor who is in it for the long term, then I think SIPs is a fantastic way to enter. Weekly, just put in small chips of capital, and then continue to stack up your Bitcoin holdings. Limit your exposure to top quality crypto assets rather than looking at the next 10x, 100x. I think very few people get that. So I think it's
small sums of money
important
and rupee cost average them over a very long period of time, and
to leverage them. Yeah.
Sumit,
And
two
product
questions.
that works like that.
So yeah, I know you keep posting your SIP screenshots on Twitter as well. Sumit, two final questions. The Bitcoin white paper turned 16, October 31st. When was the first time you read it? And also, you posted very recently about Dipinder Goyal being a mentor. We were discussing his book as well, and I believe you also have a copy, and you posted a screenshot, a photo of that, and also a picture with Dipinder. You call him a mentor as well. So when was the first time you read the Bitcoin white paper, and what's the relationship like with Dipinder? What have you learned from him?
Yeah. So first time I read the white paper was around 2016. That's when I like properly sort of read it. And before that, I have heard about Bitcoin when I was in Japan in 2014, but did not sort of spend time. But that just blew me up, and like, okay, fine, this is phenomenal. Honestly, if you ask me, I did not expect it to become this big. And it took me 2 years after that moment for me to start up fully in crypto. And with Dipinder, I think Dipinder is a very interesting story. So in 2021, when we ended up raising our round at like $90 million round at like $1 billion valuation, obviously Dipinder is something that I've always looked up to, solid entrepreneur and bit contrarian, like very different. You were just chatting about how they sort of what they did during the listing time, right, in their cafeteria. So he reached out to me on LinkedIn. Hey Sumit, let's catch up on Zoom sometime. I was like, oh, is that a real profile? And then I responded to that, and then he gave me his number, I gave mine, and then got WhatsApp from him, and then we ended up doing a good Zoom call. After that, I had a chat at his like during the COVID time, 3 hours long chat with him. Very informal, candid chat. The company just went public. I asked him like, what's it like, and then he shared a few things. I think those were also very interesting. And then since then we've been in touch, keep exchanging messages every few months. And I chat with him about general stuff about Bitcoin. Also, I pitched Bitcoin to him when it was and a lot of conversations around the industry and like startups in general. So solid guy to learn from. And I mean, like what I learned from him is like just the mindset to continue to do bigger and better things, and continue to strive for like sort of take bold bets. I think that's something to learn from.
Sumit, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'll leave the listeners with the fact that if Sumit Gupta book is happening, I will, I think, contribute at least 30% of the content, at least around CoinDCX. The journey that I've seen and the company that you built and the hard work that you and Neeraj have put in, it's just phenomenal. Kudos and thank you so much for coming on the show. All the best after the Coinbase investment.
You guys should co-author a book already in 2026.
Abhi the journey is still left.
First chapter likh do. But
First
that's
chapter
the greatest
लिखेंगे,
to you.
Sumit के साथ मिलके लिखेंगे. All the best, Sumit. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your time, Sumit. See you.
All right, our next guest is here. Let's welcome Aditya from Beco. Aditya.
Hey,
how are
Aditya.
you doing?
Hi, what's up? Hi, Dhruv. How are you guys?
All well.
Great.
Thank you so
Good to
much
see
for
you.
joining. Yeah, joining the show as well. Please, for our listeners who are hearing from you for the first time on our show, please describe what the business does for them in a couple of minutes.
Sure, absolutely. So, we are a clean label home care brand, a D2C brand that started off actually in retail, doing GT, doing traditional stuff back in the year 2019, just before COVID. And a bootstrap business initially, just graduated from college, got a chance to work at McKinsey, then said, this is not fun. Can I do something different? And the whole D2C space was blowing up, but more than that, I thought there has to be a better way to serve the consumers. And I think HUL, Reckitt, and P&G sort of weren't doing a good job in just giving the right products to the consumers. Got was initially into consumer tech, so loved tech from ground up. Been in the whole startup ecosystem at Bits Pilani, and then just felt that the whole consumer business and the consumer goods business was blowing up in India. Consumerism was at a high, and if I can just give better products to consumers, that's just the winner right there. And no experience in FMCG overall, Utsav and Dhruv, but learned the hard way in the
Which
industry.
product did you start with, Aditya? What did you launch with?
So we were actually in China.
Uh-huh.
I was with my father there, and while I was flying back, I actually came across bamboo tissue papers on the flight.
Yeah.
And I said, this is such a simple product,
Yeah.
the most unsexy of the categories, right? Like
Yeah.
we are on a podcast discussing tissue papers, and it's really not the most coolest thing that
Yeah.
I think you could be building. But what we realized was that this was a very unorganized, very segmented sort of a market here in India. But the volumes were so high, and India, eh, just not the B2B side, but the B2C side is just so massive as an opportunity. We said if there's an opportunity to serve the consumers better, build value both for the consumer as well as for the brand, then that would be interesting. So it was on a flight back from China that I came across the product.
And how has the industry evolved? Like, I think after COVID, sustainability, all of these topics came into mainstream conversation more so than
Yeah.
before. What have your learnings been over the last 24 months or even longer since you've started?
So it's actually more surprising because I would say post COVID, India has actually started earning a little bit more. So if you see the middle class India, they have more disposable income today than they did. And contradictorily, actually sustainability is not that big. So even though it's some mainstream conversation and today we can speak about sustainability, but I think India's aspirational. They just want better products. They want a good value prop attached to it. And I quite honestly feel that sustainability is not really the reason why people buy products or buy brands. And I think that we learned this also throughout our journey, that initially Bico was all about sustainability, and that still remains today, but that's not what we communicate to consumers. We tell them the product is better because there's so many attributes attached to it. And hey, because we make it out of plant-based products and we don't use any harmful chemicals, and hence we are better for the environment. So actually sustainability as a conversation has moved, so has become more layered and has moved to sort of being communicated as the third proposition, but the first proposition is why it's better for them. Second is how we make it, that what's the ingredient story, why they should buy us, and third is actually sustainability. And I think most people often get that wrong, and they say, okay, buy us because we're sustainable, but that's sounds a little bit more like charity and not really like why you should exist in their lives. So I
That's
think
actually a
that's one of
very
the big learning
interesting
that.
point, Aditya. How do you awaken the consumer to sustainability? So if it's not point number one, it's point three, but it's still important. If you care about the earth and you want to bring your consumers in on that journey to protect the earth, how do you do it?
So I think, Dhruv, it's built on an innate belief that people in general want to do something good,
Mm.
but as long as it's easy, as long as it's accessible. Like when we started out doing beach cleanups in 2018, it was just a passion project. I used to stay very close to the Chopati beach here in Mumbai, and I used to see so many thousands of people. So we were on a Telegram group which had 4,000 members of a beach cleanup, right? And I realized that while 4,000 sounds like a lot in terms of the entire population of Bombay, it's basically it's a rounding off error, right? So the belief was that people want to do good as long as it doesn't burn a hole in their pocket, as long as the the whole journey of doing something good is very easy. And we said, can we tell the consumer, tell people that they can create a similar impact by just choosing better and just choosing greener, right? So the belief was that today, Dhruv, you as an individual, Utsav as an individual, everyone here who's listening wants to do something that makes them feel good. And if we can make that as easy as possible and as accessible, then that sort of will be the winner. So I think sustainability as a conversation and just creating that awareness just came from the fact that people just want to do better. If we can provide value to them as well as enable that, then that's just the way to sort of do it. But it's not going to today. People buy EVs not because for the environment, but it helps them save cost also, right? So I mean,
And what is the state of the business right now? How much capital have you raised? What are the hero SKUs? What does the scale of opportunity look like?
so that's very interesting. So initially we were bootstrapped. We were running like a Marwadi business, right? Like bulk में procure किया, retail में बेचा, right? And just doing some sort of a conversion and selling to the consumer at a slightly higher price point. But I think as the business evolved, we raised a total of about $10 million so far. And we knew always this business, unlike consumer tech, will grow year on year, but the mortality is much higher, and then we would, if we do our job well, then the consumer landscape in India will anyways keep on growing. Um, with $10 million, we've roughly created about 250 crores of annual run rate in terms of revenue. And we've scaled from about 60 70 crores last year. So it's been, if you ask me, like, my plans for next year would probably be around 600 700 crores, but that's still scratching the surface because consumer brands in India are very big, and then very large outcomes. I was talking recently on a podcast, and we were chatting about minimalist and whole truth and some of these brands, and the kind of value they've been able to generate, right? And the kind of uh, the kind of consumer behavior they've been able to shape has actually been quite significant. And I think that's where a lot of the juice lies, on how you shape the way people consume. How do you make them consume responsibly without the guilt of buying something and just for the sake of consumerism? And I think that's really where the business is today. It's actually just creating more awareness and just shaping consumer behavior in a way that makes them do good, feel good, look good.
And so you enter the lives of consumers with those bamboo tissues, Aditya. Now, how many different consumer needs do you solve? Utsav asked you the hero SKUs, but
Yeah.
how many different products are there? I know I use at least 5 personally, but how many
Oh,
options do we
what are the
have?
5 that you use, Dhruv? Why don't we start with
So,
that?
sure, the tissues, so there's also, I don't want to name the competitor, but floor cleaning, the liquid. There's wipes. In fact, the floor cleaning liquid reminds me. So question for you, Aditya, does it help your cause that today consumers really care about what's in the product? Because there was always something to clean the floor with, but God knows what was in it, and when you applied it on the floor, what fumes were coming out. And today we care about something like that. So really treat that question as your own. And how's that consumer awareness rising in India? How are founders like yourself playing into it?
Got it. So I think I would separate this question into two parts. I think on a larger note, beauty and personal care as an industry has seen a lot of traction coming in from the ingredients that we put inside the product. So
Yeah.
niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, these have become sort
Minimalist
of,
style. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
they have become like table conversations. Like, people understand, a lot of people, larger audience sort of knows about it. The home care industry, which is very different in terms of the kind of consumer behavior that people see today, and almost equal in terms of market size in India, roughly at about 12 13 billion dollars, is actually built on that we don't have this instead of that we have this, right?
Okay.
So I'm free from toxic chemicals, I'm free from parabens, I'm free from sulfates, and that's actually how it's been in the West, and that's what we are seeing here in India today. And today, if you ask me, a lot of the big brands, without naming some of them, right,
Yeah.
they have obviously they don't declare the complete ingredient list because unlike food, they
Yeah.
are not mandated by the government. But
Yeah.
the ones that do, they use ingredients that are actually banned in some of the Western nations. Um, and just because it's allowed here in India, I mean, they sort of, and there's not much regulation around it, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think that serves consumer well, which is why our hero SKUs are actually now the laundry detergents, the
Yeah.
dishwashing liquids, floor cleaners,
Yeah.
because these are products that you interact with daily. You have kids, they are on the
Yeah.
floor, you have pets,
Yeah.
they're constantly, engaging. Dishwashing liquid, for example, for all your utensils, right? But today you still rinse the plate or the glass or the bowl before you use it because you're sure that maybe some residues left behind or it just probably caught on some dirt, right? So I think fundamentally a lot of the expectations from these categories have evolved. And because they have been low involvement categories, they've seen not very high engagements as a brand, but as a business, it's a phenomenal opportunity. And I urge a lot of founders to sort of look into these offbeat categories to actually build the next big brand here in India, because I think BPC and some of these all industries have already been explored and there's always a new brand and there are five new brands coming up every day. But a large part of the opportunity is very latent here in India and coming off from these offbeat categories as well.
And a lot of the big players like HUL and others that you mentioned have their own eco lines as well. Does that, I mean, what's the industry dynamic like? Do they exercise their heft and muscle and also cut corners in terms of pricing and stuff?
I think I think that's a very interesting question because none of them actually have been able to succeed so far, not just for eco-friendly products, but also for products that are sort of me too to challenger brands. So you had Nature's Essence or one of these similar names that was launched by one of these larger consumer goods companies, which was in competition with the Mamaearth. I don't think they could out execute them on product or on strategy or on execution. And the way we look at it is, I think they help increase the kind of awareness around these products, but the products and the execution doesn't really deliver well for the consumer. So, and obviously the trust level is low, right? Like, so today, if a, a soft drink manufacturer, which has been globally recognized, suddenly launches something that is good for you, I'm not really sure whether that's really good for me or not. But if there is a founding team or if there are a group of experts saying that this is bad for you and I have something better, I think that's really a strategy to go. So I don't think the story also lines up for consumers, and consumers are very smart today. Our belief is that the educated know exactly what they're reading, what they're doing, and if you can help them help create the right awareness along with them. So it's not really the larger players that sort of scare me as a business, but it's the newer incumbents with a very strong mission and great in execution that actually do a better job than the large players. They're just built on distribution, and then they definitely exercise that from time and again. But I don't really think that that's very long lasting, given just how distribution has been democratized with quick commerce and so many new channels that are coming in today.
I also
Uh,
think with the emergence of folks like you, I mean, if the incumbents, get a little pressure to just have cleaner products and be more transparent about what's going in them, it's a great win for the consumer long term.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
all right, Dhruv, anything to close us out with before we welcome our next guest?
Yes, Aditya, what are you excited about, sort of going into 2026? What's in the roadmap for the coming year for Beco?
So I think the first thing is just increasing the kind of scale and distribution that we have today. Like I said, we are roughly at about 250 crore net in terms of revenue that we're doing annually. The idea is to take this up to about 600, 700 crores. So I think that journey is really exciting. But I think more than that, just seeing the product in the hands of as many consumers, just on many more shelves here in India. And I think the next guest will also sort of share his journey in terms of how he's been on the shelf, so quickly. But I think just fighting an industry which is largely 80% dominated by the incumbents and just being able to create enough delta there is really what excites us.
Do you guys know each other? Do you know Nikunj?
No, I haven't met him, but it's a good chance to meet him. Hi, Nikunj.
I think both of you are Bombay based as well.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Aditya. Thank you so much. Nikunj, I see that your screen is turned, I mean, upside down. Like, yes. Acha, maybe because I think this
Not
thing,
at all.
Ashok, is that okay? Laptop's better, but yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah, yeah, easy.
This was Ashok's debut on the show, by the way.
All right. So yeah, Aditya, we have 1 more minute with you. What would you like to
Awesome.
just tell our listeners?
No, I think, I mean, what you guys are doing at offline and the kind of conversations I went through the last couple of videos that the team had shared. And I think it's just the group of founders, amazing set of people, each one trying to do so many different things and just so much to learn, while you're talking in a forum like this, but also when you're talking offline in the offline network to actually the founders that are there and just learning from their experience, how candid, and you're typically not selling, right? Because most of the time you're just out there to sell. But it's very refreshing to be in with a group of founders that are actually not just there to sell, but to connect and to learn from.
I love it.
I
Are
think
you
great,
coming for the
great thing.
Georgia retreat as well?
Hopefully, yes.
You have to. I think it'll be fun.
It's hard for founders to switch off the sales mode sometimes, isn't it?
I don't think so. It's possible because it just becomes your second tongue, right?
It
So
becomes your personality. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I think a bit of that marketing also shows in your relationships, and then you're always trying to like sell and just make everything sound so larger than life. But it's a great time to be a founder in India today, and
Yeah.
I just feel that opportunity is amazing.
All right. We have Nikunj with us. Let's welcome Nikunj. Nikunj, thank you for adjusting from a phone to a laptop. I saw your podcast with Ganesh of Think School. He's also an offline member. Amazing set of questions. I have a different set of questions from him. First, I'm ready with my bar. Uh, but I mean, why fermented yeast protein and why whey protein versus whey protein?
Oh, so we're jumping right into it. Okay, cool.
Right
So,
into it.
yeah, I mean, look, principally, we were excited to bring something new to the market. There's this very exciting new technology that's making waves around the world, which is biofermentation. And just the idea that as a brand, we could bring something new for the Indian consumer, which has quite a lot of benefits, was what excited me, honestly. Precision fermentation and biofermentation, these two new technologies, really, really massive. I am extremely bullish on the future of it. Not that, just to clarify, not that we think whey is bad or anything like that. Like, whey is great. And it would have been very easy for us to launch the same product, but it's also heavily commoditized today. So we didn't want to come into the market which is nothing new and just another whey protein. And hence we had the opportunity to bring this, and we thought we'll try and do that for the vegan product. And tomorrow we might also give the consumer an option for whey and say, look, you come to us when you want protein, and we'll make sure we give you the greatest options.
And your brand was the first time I actually heard of fermented yeast protein. And people have compared it and said it's lab grown protein. And also you made claims like it's better for the environment, which of course makes sense because cow is the ultimate source of whey protein as well. And also, I think price point, you're cheaper than whey protein as well. So those are big advantages, right, for this. How did you discover this process?
Very, very long story to this. I was actually in Vegas for a fair on sports nutrition and multiple things, and I'd come across the technology while doing some research. Met some folks who are building. They were based out of California, and then the long and short of it is, through them, got connected to somebody, and then got connected to somebody, and then got connected to somebody, and then arrived at this exciting thing called biofermentation.
Hmm.
And thought again. I tried the product and I was thoroughly impressed. I tried it for like 3 months before we took the decision to bring it.
Right.
And I felt that difference. I felt that it was lighter to consume. And like you said, multiple other benefits. So complete protein, but cheaper as well. And I genuinely believe in India needs good, affordable sources of protein as well. Whey pricing is in the control of nobody. So at least here there's some consistency in pricing and so on and so forth.
And will you put out lab reports as well, like the Whole Truth does?
We do that already.
You do that? Nice.
Yeah, we do that already. We've gotten Trustified verified. We're Pink Tiger, which is 𝐲𝐞 𝐎𝐟𝐿. We're Pink Tiger verified now, and a bunch of other folks who've obviously done some independent lab tests.
Love it. I love the chocolate flavor. That's my daily 2 scoop go-to.
We've also we're launching a couple of new flavors in the next by Jan Feb.
Which one?
So we're doing one Indian flavor, like a Kesar Pista. We're doing one more chocolatey flavor, and we're doing one vanilla.
Please send us samples, sir.
For sure.
Also, do you still have the bar? You would have it, right?
Yes.
Can you eat it? No, I'm not going to ask
I
you.
did.
Yes, all right. No, can you just bring it back on for a second? Just a second, yes. So, Nikunj, I mean, the name, how do you come up with the name? And the colors, I mean, they seem like it's vivid colors, very exciting. I, see this, I want to pick it up. Take us behind the scenes.
And to match that with Ranveer saying, I mean, SuperYou, Ranveer saying, it just all fits in together. And it's hard to imagine until you see it together.
Yeah.
Energy bars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, there's a long answer to this, but the short version of it is I can't take credit for the name. A colleague of mine came up with it. The process of coming up with that, though, was just pure chaos. There was no method to it. There was no science to it. It was just chaos. We kept shooting names at each other. Nothing felt right. There was like 5 of us in a room, and like doing this process for like 2 months. And we came up with some very terrible names like Todford and Y Particle, and I don't even know what all. Like 1% was a name that I was very excited by, but didn't love it. And then casually in one of these brainstorming conversations, my colleague came up with this thing saying, listen, why can't we just keep it simple? Just you and SuperYou, and protein makes you SuperYou. Simple. And everyone in the room was like, wow. It just clicked. And Ranveer had the same feeling when he heard it for the first time. So in the first minute of our call, he was like, guys, it's either SuperYou or it's nothing.
Who came first? Was it protein or was it Ranveer?
It was Ranveer, actually.
Okay.
Ranveer. I had a vague idea of wanting to build in the better for you space because my previous experience has been in food FMCG. So I knew that I wanted to build something within that space. But honestly, it's not like we timed the market. It, of course, seems like that now. But we didn't know protein's going to be this next big thing or anything like that. The simple thought back then was we wanted to build better for you, and we wanted to be a little more sharply defined within better for you. And protein was that kind of lever to help define that brand personality. And that's why we did it. So even today, I like to say that we're a better for you brand, not just obsessed over protein. We're obsessed over balance.
But speaking of protein, how is India's relationship with protein evolving? Talk to us a little bit about that, Nikunj.
Yeah, so I have like one insight about this. So I think for most Indians, health actually traditionally started with being thin and fat, right? If you were thin, you were considered healthy. If you were fat, you were considered unhealthy. And I think from that came this whole thing of everyone just always wants to lose weight, whether it's, whether you want to lose half a kg or you want to lose 10, 20, 30 kgs, right? You want to lose weight. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions around that, but that's what the average thinking was. And I think from that came these things of myths of carbs are bad for you and fats are bad for you and fried khana mat khao and sugar is bad for you. And a lot of things got villainized. And in this process, when carbs and fats got villainized, the only other macronutrient that came out was protein. To say that, no, listen, protein is great for you, and please eat more of it because you are anyway under eating it. Your average diet doesn't have enough of it, right? And I think that's when, and especially post COVID, thanks to social media and a bunch of people who've done a great job of building awareness, I think that's when people started understanding that, okay, look, protein is important, and you can get it through multiple sources, whether that's your food, whether that's a supplement or whatever, right? I think that's when people start realizing that, okay, look, there is this thing that you can eat a lot of and it's better for you. Uh, in principle, I don't believe carbs are bad. I don't believe fats are bad. I don't believe anything is bad. It's just balance. So anything in excess is bad for you. And I think that's the shift that's happened today. So people have realized that, okay, protein is great for me.
Interesting. And I mean, better for you. That's a term that you mentioned very recently. And Arjun Vaidya, who's your friend as well, came on the show, the first one that we did. And he said that India is going to see a lot of these better for you brands. Like, it's very hard for somebody to be the best for you. Like, nobody's going to start having like way isolate proteins and assume that you will be just consuming that just to take your protein intake. But there are a lot of these ice creams, like 𝐿, which was another ice cream brand, I think, which was on Shark Tank as well recently. And your brand, like, you built these, amazing chips as well. It's just amazing, like those Pudina chips. Why better for you? And why will India adapt to these more versus, say, like the best for you or the healthiest for you option?
So great question, right? So look, fundamentally, I think health means something different to everybody. Everyone has their own personal definition of health, right? And I think what better for you encapsulates is that large context, that large thing of what health could mean to multiple people, right? For some people, it's calorie intake. For some people, it's protein. For some people, it's the overall macros. For some people, it's just leaving sugar. For some people, it's muscle, and so on and so forth, right? The way I say, I like to use this line saying, there's too few Brian Johnsons in India, and for that matter, even around the world, where all of us are trying to get the best biomarkers. None of us are trying to do that, right? At the end of the day, most of us want to live a good, active, healthy lifestyle within the convenience around us, right? We all have jobs to do, schools to go to, businesses to run, and so on and so forth, right? And you can't drop some of those things to just optimize for health. So I'd love to be able to work out 3 hours a day and eat measured meals and so on and so forth, but I don't have that luxury today, right? And hence, what are convenient ways of incorporating it within my lifestyle? And I think better for you just encapsulates that look, you were eating something that is not the healthiest, and with a switch in certain ingredients, you can make it relatively better. And why not do that, right? So why not consume something that's relatively better if it's not overly expensive or anything like that? So I think that's why even Arjun would have said that we think we'll see a large amount of brands doing this. And in fact, I think you'll also see legacy brands doing this. You'll also see the same brands that were selling a product, let's say full with sugar and whatever else, also now doing variants that will not have it. The classic example is a Coke and a Diet Coke, right? A Diet Coke says, hey, why are you getting the calories? Just have the Coke without the calories and without refined sugar, right? But I'm not going to go into whether aspartame is the right thing to do or not. I'm not going there. But at least for that consumer, it feels like a better option for the consumer who's consuming a Diet Coke.
Nikunj, how does a brand like yours, go beyond selling to urban consumers? How does that journey play out over a long period of time?
So I think number one is obviously how you design the brand. So like, who all can you speak to? But I think the biggest layer to that is distribution, right?
Sure.
So the classic जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. So if you're not available, we're not even having this conversation.
Yeah.
And I think distribution, the biggest opportunity for brands that are being built today is that there are retailers and channels that are getting created that are helping us build that distribution. So a good example of this is quick commerce, right? So a Blinkit now has north of 2,000 stores across 120 cities. If you can get onto Blinkit and obviously sell and have good velocity, then you can get access to those many more cities, right? So I think number one is obviously just solving for distribution, because doing that the classical FMCG way through general trade is very, very difficult. That game is still for the big boys, in my opinion. not for startups, because it's very capital intensive,
Yeah.
very inventory intensive, and extremely high risk, like extremely high risk. So I would say that's you have to tread that path carefully. And the second thing is just how do you create awareness? So distribution here, but I think today again, just digitally, because everything has moved, right? You have, at least let's say for SuperYou, the target audience is primarily that 18 to 35, right? 18 to 35 is all on their phone. Like my entire target audience is on their phone, and they're spending enough time on an Instagram or a YouTube or whatever other social media, right?
Yeah.
So I think you have media that you can now use
Yeah.
relatively cheaper and more targeted, and actually create awareness as well and create top funnel. So I think today we're in this place where you can actually afford to reach that consumer.
What percentage of your sale come from like online quick commerce, general trade distributors?
So modern trade and general trade would be about like 15%. Quick commerce would be close to 50-ish percent. And then D2C is now growing for us pretty quickly. So that would be another 15%. And then you have marketplaces and um,
The only like complaint that I have is when I ordered my protein, or at least the minis when you launched that, the cookies and cream and mango, it took 5 days for delivery. Do you get that feedback from people as well?
so we've yeah. So yes.
Cool, right? In this world of, I mean, quick commerce and quick dopamine hits.
Yeah. No, so fully agree with you. So I'll give you some interesting statistic on this. Most of our deliveries, more than 95% of our deliveries, 90 to 95%, get serviced within 3 working days, right? We're also doing a large amount of orders, way more than what we had planned. And in that case, we obviously have these instances which have gotten delayed. We have some orders that unfortunately have gotten delayed up to 9-10 days. And that's primarily because of two things. So one is us managing inventory. So a small example of this is, let's say you order 2 products from us. I'm assuming you're based out of Delhi, for example. You ordered a cold coffee protein powder and the minis. If I don't have the cold coffee protein powder in Delhi, I'm forced to then ship the order from Mumbai. And that's an additional 3 days already, right? So these are things as a young company we're learning how to get better at. And this is like an everyday fight internally. So how do we just keep getting better? And here is where we say, we have to look up to the HULs and the Britannias, because this part of the SNOP, it's called in FMCG, they're just phenomenal at, right? So that's number one. And number two is, there's also like we're working very closely with our delivery partners, because we've seen quite a few delays happen there, which is unusual. We work with Blue Dart and Delivery, so we're working with good folks, but I think that's something that we're streamlining.
No, kudos to you, and you built a solid brand. I mean, I feel bad when most of your chips are stocked out, especially the pudina flavor or the masala flavor on Blinkit. Then I have to open other apps as well. But the scale is tremendous now. You've hit, I mean, first number that I heard was 100 crore. Then I heard 160 in a Mint article. Has that number, you crossed that mark?
Yeah. So look, we've scaled pretty well. We're doing slightly north of that now. And I think scale, like that part of it is exciting. But very honestly, the only metric that I end up tracking is repeat. Because I know that if repeat is good, then that number will come either today or tomorrow. So I like telling the team this, right? Like in a marathon, do you get happy if you ran your first 5 km fast? I mean, yeah, it's good, and we should all be happy. But you have another 37 kilometers or whatever to go. So got to be consistently doing this.
And R&D, I mean, you posted about the 20-gram bar as well very recently. And I think you rated it 6.5 on 10 out of for taste. What does the R&D look like now that you've successfully built at least a brand that has good recollection amongst your users and consumers? Where does it go from here in terms of what is the R&D life cycle look like? How do you explore new products or categories?
Yeah. So how long an answer do you want? Short? Okay.
Medium.
I'll take a dig at it. So look, I think we don't follow any formal processes. So it's not like we do these large consumer dipsticks and things like that with agencies. I have a pretty clear idea of how I want to build a brand and what products I see fitting in. And that's all come from strategy, right? Which is in SuperYou, what do we want to solve for? So we want to solve for junk products getting a little bit better, making them a little bit better, keeping taste at the core and not making them expensive. Now, with that thesis, we know that there are large categories which are considered junk today, and we can make them better. So where do we want to play first? Those are things we'll arrive at, like from a strategy perspective. And then comes to like finding the right manufacturing partners and then doing the development and collaborating with them and doing development, right? And then there's a long drawn process of ingredients and, what do we want to do? How do we achieve cost? So on and so forth. I think the third and the final stage to this is once we've been able to arrive at prototypes is when we'll do a lot of sampling. This sampling is something that I hold very close to me. So I'll go out, feed people, get feedback. And it's not only friends and family. So it's a bunch of random people and like keep doing this over a long period of time so that you get genuine feedback. And then a little bit of this is instinct, right? Like I've been in this space, so I like to go with what me and the team also feel about it. And that's always like the last 10-20% is always going to be that. So we kind of try and do that and then arrive at saying, okay, look, with all these factors combined, do we feel that this is a short word shooting or not? So in the case of the 20-gram protein bar, we did a lot of trials. The 6.5 number is just something I made up. For some people, it's a 5. For some people, it was a 7. But it wasn't delicious. It wasn't mad tasty, like we like to say. Hence, we thought maybe let's put this on the back seat for now, and then see if we can improve it and think of some other ideas as well. So we actually have the craziest pipeline. Like my team has to keep holding me back saying just relax, relax, because I'm very excited for the products that we have in the pipeline. And at the end of the day, one thing that we hold close to us and goes back to the first question you asked me, we want to bring innovative products to consumer. We don't want to do the Me Too's. So from the wafer, it was the first time bringing something like that to India. Even the chips have a disproportionate variance from regular chips, right? So we did a lot of work on that, a lot. It was actually pretty difficult to crack that. With the protein powder and then with 2-3 other products that we have in the pipeline, they're going to be very, very innovative and something that India is also seeing for the first time.
So do we have more time with Nikunj?
We can. I mean, if Nikunj has more time, a couple of more questions before we wrap it up.
Sure.
Or we could wrap it up. Let's try something we haven't tried before, Nikunj. So
No, I have a couple of questions about Think9. Actually, you announced a partnership with Nikhil Kamath as well, and of course, the Biyani family is behind it as well. So, what does the structure look like? You incubated a lot of brands as well, like the Good Bug, Food Stories as well, and many others. So, and you're involved, of course, with them. What does the structure entail for the brands that are under that umbrella?
Yeah. So, so Think9 is a incubator and an accelerator of sorts, which essentially comes up with different business concepts, and then is an investor in some of these brands. But just to be clear, each brand is run by an entrepreneur. And for that entrepreneur, the only thing that matters is that brand, right? So for me, I was going to say life and death, but I'm thinking of choosing a better word for it. So day and night is just SuperYou, right? There's nothing else for me. And similarly for Good Bug, Keshav, who's my cousin, for him, everything is Good Bug. So he has no involvement in SuperYou, I have no involvement in Good Bug, and so on and so forth, right? There's obviously my uncle who's at the helm of it, and he
but
kind
you
of
guys not take best practices from each other. I'm sure that's a table conversation.
We do. In fact, that's something that's incredibly helpful because there's so many brands across so many categories, and we share a lot of learnings with each other, and that's very, very helpful. Whether that's learning on consumer or even operational stuff like what checkout tool is working the best. Are you facing a challenge today with marketplaces? All of those things. So that is extremely helpful. And just to clarify, the partnership that you're referring to with Think9 and WTF is actually a new concept, which is called Foundry. Um, I don't know how much I can share, but it's going to be wild. It's a really, really cool concept.
I
And
have
I
a
think,
feeling it's going to be like the Donald Trump apprentice, like if I'm taking a wild guess.
I mean, yes
That's
and no.
what the poster made it seem like.
Not entirely. But yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fully new concept. Nothing like this exists in the world.
All right. Looking forward to it. All the best.
Thank you.
Groww, what are the closing ones?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that we try something new. In closing, Nikunj, do you want to give a shout out to three of your buddies, founders of three companies you may not even know but have a lot of respect for, and we'll try bringing them on the show.
Yeah. So I'm gonna do this with just who's coming top of mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one is Satyajit of Two Brothers. Phenomenal brand, and the
Yeah.
category that they're building in is crazy. I think, does it have to be D2C consumer?
Not
Any-
at all. Brands
any
you look
brand.
up to.
Yeah. So second is a very dear friend of mine, Amit Damani. He runs Stay Vista, and that's in the service business. And I frankly have a lot of respect for anyone building in the service business. It's so tough. It's incredibly difficult. And third, there's too many, man. I'd say Keshav. Keshav's building something phenomenal with Goodbug. He's not a friend, obviously. He's my cousin.
Yeah.
But I have some insight into what all they're building, and he's building something crazy.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and a big shout out to Vishwani as well for connecting us. I'm a big fan of what you built, and I had to reach out to her to get you on the show. So thank you for the time.
No, thank you. I know it took some time, some back and forth, but
I'm guessing lots happening at your end. I mean, you're running blitzscaling literally. So kudos
no,
to you.
pleasure speaking with the both of you. Happy to have done this.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you, Nikunj.
Thank you, Nikunj. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you've had fun with us today, and we'll see you